I, 26 male, found out my fiancé, 27 female, possibly gave a stripper at her bachelorette party. I reached a point where my thoughts were becoming overwhelmingly negative, and I felt it was necessary to distance myself completely from the situation in order to protect my well-being. I took the decision to temporarily stay at my parents' house, where I could find solace and surround myself with trustworthy individuals. My fiancé will be referred to as Jane. Recently, I received a call from one of the husbands of the bridesmaids, who informed me that he witnessed something that raised suspicions about Jane's behavior at her bachelorette party. According to him, it suggested that Jane may have engaged in intimate relations with a stripper. It's important to note that when our relationship began, we mutually agreed that any form of physical intimacy or passionate kisses outside of our partnership would be considered a complete deal breaker. As I pressed for more details, he subtly alluded to something without explicitly stating it. When I questioned whether he might have made an error or misunderstood a message or conversation he overheard, he confidently affirmed that I was indeed the bridesmaid. I interpreted this as his attempt to shield my girlfriend from potential confrontation, believing that the bride was feeling upset and using her husband as a mediator. After my conversation with him, I was deeply upset and emotionally overwhelmed. The news I received from the man on the phone left me feeling shattered, causing me to shut down emotionally. It was a stark contrast to the enjoyable day I had just experienced, as I had organized a low-key gathering with my friends, playing Well Classic at home instead of having a traditional bachelor party. The sudden revelation hit me with great force, intensifying the impact of the news and leaving me feeling profoundly affected. Since my cousin had a long-standing relationship with Jane, dating back to their childhood, I figured I would approach the situation calmly. I chose to wait until the next day to reach out to her and inquire if she had noticed anything peculiar. Deep down, I clung to the hope that it was all just a misunderstanding or a heartless prank. Knowing that Jane didn't live with me and had plans to spend the night at her parents' house, I felt assured that she wouldn't unexpectedly appear before me, allowing me some time to collect my thoughts and emotions. Throughout the night, I found myself confined to my bed, fixated on the dark ceiling above. The sound of doors opening and closing in the vicinity, in the quiet of Opeth, served as a haunting backdrop, fueling my efforts to maintain my sanity. The intense anxiety gnawed at me, and I resisted the urge to spiral into a state of madness. The following day, as the clock struck noon, I finally mustered the courage to call my cousin. However, my attempts were met with repeated failures, with the call not connecting even after 5 tries. The situation escalated rapidly, triggering a wave of alarming thoughts and concerns. Feeling convinced that she was deliberately evading me, I made my way to my parents' house and dialed my father's workplace number. After what seemed like an eternity, she finally picked up the phone and recognized my voice. The change in her usually exuberant and cheerful tone was palpable, as a somberness replaced her usual vivacity. In that moment, I grasped all the information I needed to confirm my suspicions. "So I heard last night was a bit more eventful than your typical night," I cautiously remarked, alluding to the intense atmosphere I had been sensing. As we began our conversation, she responded with a resigned tone, acknowledging that she was well aware of the reason for my call. The strain in her voice was evident, and she struggled to hold back tears. In a nutshell, after a lengthy and tearful conversation with my cousin, I uncovered the truth. Jane had indeed participated in the presence of a male entertainer, alongside several other women, some of whom were in committed relationships or married. In an ill-advised decision, they proceeded to leave the gathering while under the influence and drove to a strip club, where Jane and a few others indulged in private dances. My cousin made an effort to persuade me that Jane's actions didn't mean she didn't love me, insisting that it was all just a momentary lapse of judgment that escalated beyond control. However, this argument only served to irritate me further. While I refrained from raising my voice, I firmly expressed to my cousin that if she genuinely believed that she had a distorted understanding of love at this point, overwhelmed by the situation, I felt compelled to inform my parents and brothers about what had transpired. When my mother received the news, she couldn't contain her emotions and burst into tears. It was disheartening to witness the repercussions of this foolish and senseless behavior, knowing that it had caused harm to another individual. The rest of the day was spent at my parents' house, where I found myself lying in bed and gazing at the ceiling. I intentionally ignored Jane's calls and messages as I struggled to navigate the complexities of our situation. While I understand that certain individuals are comfortable with open relationships and can overcome such challenges, I personally adhere to a monogamous mindset without wavering. Consequently, I made the difficult decision to cancel all my plans, leading to a significant financial loss. I acknowledge that my approach may be seen as unpleasant, but I chose to end my relationship with Jane through a text message. I believe that a clean break without engaging in direct conflict would be the best course of action. I saw no benefit in resorting to shouting, accusations, or name-calling. In situations like these, individuals can sometimes act out of desperation, and I wanted to prevent the woman I was once planning to marry from responding in a hurtful manner as a means of justifying her actions. Feeling deeply saddened and betrayed, I recognized that resorting to any sort of vindictive behavior wouldn't contribute positively to the situation. Instead, I chose to communicate my awareness of Jane's actions through a text message. In that message, I made it clear that seeking revenge or attempting to embarrass her and her friends was not my intention. However, I emphasized that her actions were undeniable evidence that we were incompatible and that our relationship had come to an irreversible end, without any possibility of reconciliation. After sending the text, I patiently waited for Jane to respond, ensuring that she received the message before taking the step of blocking her on my phone and all social media platforms. I entrusted my cousin with the task of returning the belongings she had left at my house, and since then, there has been no communication from her or her family. Although I still carry the weight of emotional distress, I'm gradually learning to cope and prevent myself from spiraling into an abyss of despair. This breakup, however, differs significantly from the ones I experienced during my high school and college years. This time, something deep within me has shattered, and the wound feels irreparable. My self-assurance has been completely eroded, leaving me with a sense of emptiness. I find myself incessantly pondering what it was about the stripper guy that caused a seemingly devoted woman to betray our relationship and potentially discard everything we had built. Was it his more pronounced muscles, a seemingly superior physical appearance, or a more extroverted personality? While I may not possess the qualities of a supermodel, I recognize that I am not lacking in attractiveness either. I want to emphasize that I do not dress or behave in an offensive or disrespectful manner, so it leaves me questioning whether I am simply foolish or naive. I had absolute certainty in my relationship with this person, only to have her betray me shortly before our wedding. The pain and devastation caused by such actions can completely consume a person's soul, tearing it apart and leaving nothing but remnants that are callously discarded. Update 1. At some point, I received a call from someone associated with Jane, specifically her stepfather. During our conversation tonight, he expressed his concerns and sought clarification about the situation, hoping that I could offer some resolution. However, I refrained from providing explicit details. Instead, I conveyed to him that Jane had breached the boundaries of forgiveness within our relationship, rendering it irreparable. I emphasized that any further attempts from either party to salvage it would only result in wasted time that could be better spent moving forward and healing. As I expressed the situation to him, it became evident that he understood the gravity of what had transpired. Being a laid-back, old-school Hispanic man, he sincerely apologized for the unfortunate outcome of our relationship and extended his well wishes for my future endeavors. While we weren't particularly close, I recall spending some time together in his garage, engaging in casual conversations about bikes and similar topics. Update 2. I recently concluded a phone conversation with the husband of one of the bridesmaids who, incidentally, was the first to inform me about the events that transpired. Although I am not personally acquainted with him, I maintain a cordial relationship with his wife. According to him, his wife became increasingly uncomfortable when a number of the attendees started engaging in inappropriate physical contact with the hired strippers. Consequently, she made the decision to leave the venue and return home. When her husband inquired about her early departure, she became visibly agitated and proceeded to reveal the details of the incident. I believe she would have taken that action to safeguard her own marriage in case the truth eventually surfaced. He made a moral choice, recognizing that the husbands and boyfriends of these women deserve to be informed about their partner's activities in their absence. As a result, he insisted that his wife provide him with all of her contact information. I am truly grateful to this man, as discovering this information at a later stage would have made the end of the relationship even more devastating. Despite his wife's ongoing refusal to communicate with me, it no longer holds significance. I made a pledge to him that once the situation settled, I would treat him to a night out and buy him every drink in the bar. Without this man's moral courage to make that call, I would have remained unaware. In this final update, I can confirm that it has been 10 days since I received the phone call that marked the definitive end of our relationship. I'm almost back to my usual self, although I still have lingering feelings of indifference. Thankfully, I had a few days of paid time off to navigate through this absurd situation. Originally, I had scheduled a 2-week trip for the wedding this year, but since it has been postponed, I will now utilize that time to be with my family and enjoy an extended Christmas celebration with them. Apart from a few messages sent by Jane to my mother when the situation initially escalated, and a phone call from her mother the day after I spoke with Jane's dad, I have not received any further communication from their family. Jane's mother tried to mediate between us, but I promptly rejected that idea and made it clear that it was not a viable option. While she may have been somewhat assertive, she acknowledged that it wasn't the right moment to push the matter further. Eventually, I had the opportunity to have a conversation with the bridesmaid, whose husband had reached out to me. However, she didn't provide any additional details, and at that point, I didn't feel the need to inquire further. She simply contacted me when she felt comfortable enough to offer her well wishes and express her remorse for what had transpired. She is genuinely a kind-hearted individual, and I can't help but feel sorry for her because she works closely with many of those women. I dread the thought of how they might treat her in the workplace. I spoke with her about it, and while none of them held any authority over her, it still saddens me to think she might be ostracized. As for the other women involved, I haven't received any communication from them, and my cousin has completely disappeared from the picture. The responsibility of canceling all the wedding invitations fell upon my mother, as she had assisted with sending them out. I requested that she simply inform everyone that Jane and I had a change of heart regarding the marriage and decided to postpone the wedding for the time being. Frankly, I am deeply embarrassed by the events that unfolded, and I have no desire to be recognized in town as the individual whose former fiancé engaged in inappropriate activities shortly before our wedding. While I anticipate that the news may eventually spread, I believe that if I allow it to fade away naturally, it will be regarded more as a wild rumor rather than an established fact by most people. My main objective is to leave this place with minimal controversy and move forward with my life. In that regard, I have asked my mother to reach out to Jane's mother regarding the return of the engagement ring, hoping for a smooth resolution. She won't pose any issues for me anymore because my friend is willing to buy the ring set from me at the same price I paid. He plans to use them for his upcoming wedding. I suggested to him that he shouldn't disclose the source of the rings to his girlfriend, just in case she becomes worried that my ex wore the ring while engaging with a dancer's joystick. I invested a significant amount of money in deposits for various wedding expenses, such as the venue, DJ, florist, caterer, security, airline tickets, honeymoon suite, and more. To recoup some of my losses, I have decided to sell the rings. Additionally, as a result of this incident, I have chosen to refrain from pursuing long-term relationships for an indefinite period of time. It has made me extremely cautious and skeptical about love, relationships, and all the associated matters. I have received uplifting messages from people assuring me that I will eventually find my perfect match. While I strive to maintain a positive outlook, the increasing divorce rates and the ongoing conflicts between men and women in today's society make me skeptical about the likelihood of finding a long-lasting relationship. Moreover, I'm not the type of person who can quickly move on from such experiences by immediately jumping into a casual relationship the next day. For now, I have made the decision to embrace my single status and focus on my personal interests and career. I sincerely appreciate all the encouragement I have received from everyone. To anyone else who finds themselves going through a similar ordeal, I highly recommend seeking solace in the company of family or close friends with whom you share a strong bond. I cannot emphasize enough how much this support has helped me, especially considering my gender. Unlike many women, men often lack a strong network of support, which can lead to feelings of isolation and a deeper descent into negativity. In my personal experience, I found solace in familiar surroundings, such as my childhood bed in my childhood room, filled with pleasant memories. Moreover, my mother's presence was comforting as she would bring me tea and food while offering beautiful and encouraging words about her love and pride for me. Additionally, engaging with my father and brothers provided a valuable distraction and proved to be highly beneficial in navigating through difficult times. Thank you for listening to the story to the end, and if you like it, please support us with a like as well as subscribe to our channel. Write in the comments what you think about the story.